Hello, everyone, and welcome to this series dedicated to exploring the intersection of artificial intelligence and user experience research. I'm Andrea, your host, and we're here to deep dive into the latest AI-enabled research tools. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's get started. We're going to turn our spotlights on today's presenter, Eric Lee. Eric is the co-founder of Versive. Before starting Versive, Eric spent over a decade as a designer and product manager at companies like Uber and Bread Financial.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, lovely to have you. So why don't we kick things off with a little bit of an intro? I would say Versive is a platform that
Yeah.
runs conversational surveys and conducts AI synthesis of uploaded studies to help researchers conduct and analyze research faster. What can Versive do for UX researchers? What would you add?
Yeah, so I think what you said is exactly right. So we're an AI research platform for qualitative research, and we help teams conduct and analyze research faster and more effectively. And like you mentioned, there's two things we do. One is we help you conduct interviews at scale with our conversational surveys. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but helps you get deeper responses from an unmoderated study. And then we also have AI assisted analysis, and this works for both our conversational surveys and for interview recordings that you upload to Versive.
And tell me a little bit about how your product uses AI to enhance the UX research process.
Yeah, so we use AI in a bunch of ways, but the two main ways are first, we use AI to help talk to your users for you. So you can just send them a survey link, and our AI moderator will ask dynamic probing questions to get deeper responses than the traditional survey. And then second, we also use AI to turn responses and transcripts into shareable takeaways. So we use AI to go through all the transcripts, identify recurring themes, pull quotes out of the transcripts, count how often they recur, and ultimately build a shareable report. And we do this for both the conversational surveys and interviews that you upload.
Right. I really like that it works both for studies that have been run in Versive as well as things that have been run outside of Versive where I can upload them and take advantage of the AI for analysis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think
Fabulous.
just on that, I think that is like really core to how David and I think about research in our tool. We don't think AI should be doing all of your research. We think AI should be working with the methodologies that you use, and we think that live moderated interviews are a super important one, and that's why it's like important for us to build a tool that is helpful across all of these workflows that you're already doing.
And with that, what would you say is Versive's superpower?
Yeah, so like a lot of other AI tools you featured here, like we definitely use AI to help you conduct and analyze qualitative research much faster without sacrificing as much quality. But for us, we're not just an AI interviewer, we're building a complete research platform that supports a variety of methodologies and workflows. So we like to think that we're more flexible than other AI research tools, but still have all of the benefits of incorporating AI into these workflows. You can use Versive to conduct and analyze complex surveys, both quant and qual, usability tests, AI moderated interviews, and then also researcher moderated interviews.
That's a lot of different applications. I love it. Thank you. Why don't we start with what it looks like to interact with Versive as a respondent?
So this is essentially what it looks like when you are sent a survey, and you can get this embedded on a website. You can receive a link. You can get this through a panel, and all of this is customizable. So if the creator wants to show me disclaimers, messages, they can do that. So this is all customized. I can take these studies in multiple languages based on who the target audience is, but we'll take it in English here. So let's get started with the survey. So these surveys work across all sorts of device types, and they include a bunch of different question types, both closed-ended and open-ended. So here, the study is about how I use AI. So I'll just go through and answer a few questions and show you how this works. So with closed-ended questions, we support a bunch of them, and they work just like a typical survey does. So I use AI tools in my personal life weekly. And then with open-ended questions, this is where AI comes in. So I can answer these with voice, and it will transcribe it for me in whatever language I want, or I can answer it with text. So let's just answer this simple one with text. I use ChatGPT. And here now it's asking a question about how am I using these tools. So let's give like a simple answer, and I'll do it with voice. I use them to search for things. So not a very good answer. And the interviewer knows that it wants to get some specific examples. It knows that I mentioned ChatGPT previously, so it's going to ask a probing question. So let's give a slightly better answer here. Yeah, I was looking to do some travel planning, and I decided to use AI to do it to give me a more personalized recommendation. So transcribed it, I can edit it, I can submit it. So now it's asking another probing question because it wants to understand why I'm using these tools. So I won't go too far into this, but that's just like an example of how the uh, the survey combines both like the closed-ended questions and then also these AI probing questions that respond to what I've said in the past and what I've answered to the specific question and what the interviewer has or the creator has inputted to tell the interviewer what it's trying to get at.
Nice.
And then just like one more really quick thing, I won't go too deep in this, but we also support prototype tests. So here, if I want to ask questions while showing a participant a prototype and seeing what they're doing, seeing how they click through things, I can do that as well. And that works well with all of the question types, whether they're closed-ended or AI question.
Great. So you can do UI or prototype testing, concept testing, things like that.
Yep. We support videos, even like PDF files. We've had people run like messaging tests using those, images, and also live websites, and of course, Figma prototypes.
Wonderful. It's a broad range of input types. That's great. So it's, good for a very wide range of studies. Is there anything that you would say it's not a good fit for?
One is if you're trying to do like a very, very high sample size quantitative survey, that's completely quantitative, you can definitely do that in our tool, but there are probably tools that are a little bit better at that, like Qualtrics. But we've had people run like several hundred person studies in Versive as well. And then on the other side, we definitely think that you should be doing in-depth interviews with customers. If you want something that's really want to have a conversation that's really nuanced, or maybe it's very sensitive, or you just want it to go much deeper, we would still suggest do those and maybe use Versive as like a screener or a first round that helps you narrow down how you want to have those conversations, and then still have those in-person interviews as well.
We're getting some questions about how you make this all happen. So maybe we could switch to the
Yeah.
setup experience. You could show us what it takes to get this working.
So yeah, very easy to build a study, and there's also a lot of flexibility. So this is that first survey we looked at about AI tools. So like I said, everything is customizable. So you can customize the welcome messages. You can also add a bunch of different question types, from like rating scales to NPS questions to card sort to the open-ended questions. So you can build these like you would build a survey. And then when it comes to the AI question, the way it works is you can think of these as like items in your discussion guide. So you might have a top level question of like, this is something I definitely want to ask. And then you can give our interviewer as much detail as you want on what you want them to probe into, what's important to them. This can be very open-ended or it can be very specific. And then you can also set a maximum number of follow-up questions to try to keep the conversation at a predictable length, especially if you're sending it to a panel or your own users. So fairly easy to set all of this up. Every question is customizable. And then when it comes to the closed-ended questions, we have a lot of different settings here that you would find in a survey builder. We also support question logic. So that's essentially it. The other thing that you can do is you can use AI to both edit your survey just by describing what you want to change, or create a first draft. So I often just use this text box to paste in something that I've created in a Word doc and say, build a first draft of this for me. But sometimes also can give it an objective and say, I want to build a 5-question survey on this. So That's the editor in a nutshell. There's a lot of different detailed settings as well when it comes to configuring link notifications, languages, customizing the look and feel, and setting different study settings. But yeah, I'll stop there for now.
This is great. So if you could go back to an AI question, an open-ended question. So someone was saying,
Yes.
how much do you have to structure the research interview guide to handle different kinds of responses? This answers that right here. You give interview
Yeah.
notes with like the type of content you want the response to be. And then you
Yeah.
say ask a max of follow-up questions. So you can say ask as many and go as deep as you need to, or you can say control how deep it goes.
Yeah, and we've seen like a variety of these methods work too. We have seen some studies where people are saying like, here's a list of follow-up questions. If anything comes up that is related to those questions, ask these questions. We have people being very specific about like if someone mentioned X in the previous question, or if someone says Y, then do this. So sort of like qualitative logic.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, we also have things like this where it's just like, make sure they explain why, or make sure they give specific examples and explain why. There's a lot of flexibility in this. And we also provide a lot of guidance to customers on what we've seen work and what doesn't work, because it is very new, it is very powerful, and a lot of things work. But I think best practices are still being formed across like all of these tools.
Sure.
And then we also have a project purpose box, and this is sort of like a catch-all box that's like passed to every single question. So here you can add more like general guidance, and we've had people add context on their product in case someone asks a question back to the interviewer, or like rules on like these are things that you should not be probing on because they're sensitive. So there is like also a way to add more of a general prompt that like goes across all of your questions.
Someone wants to know more about the question logic shown at the bottom of the open-ended AI form.
Yes. So right now for AI questions, the only logic we support is always logic. So it allows you to like skip someone to another question, like say they've reached like the end of a flow and you need to send them to the end of the interview. You can do that now. We will be adding, I guess, like more qualitative logic in the future where you can describe what you want and then have that send people to different questions, where it'll work, I guess, more like a multiple choice question where you can say like, if it meets a condition, then do something. With the AI, this will just be an open text field where you can describe what the condition is, and then the AI will decide if they've met the condition. But for now, it's relatively simple, but we do have this in the roadmap.
Okay. So can we go back? I just want to make sure I understand the open-ended logic. So if I add a
Yeah.
condition, I can say, always go to this question after this question.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that's mostly used in case like you have logic earlier in the interview and you direct someone to a flow, and the first 10 questions are that flow, the second 10 are a different flow. You can then say like once they've reached the final AI question, send them to the end of the interview if they're
Gotcha.
in like flow one, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's a way to exit like a
Yeah,
section of a flow. Okay. That makes
yeah.
sense. Great. Someone else wants to know, do you have to be explicit about how you deal with responses in terms of incorporating what people say in all of the questions, or does the AI already
Mhm.
know how to do it?
Yeah, so you don't have to be explicit. So like in that example we looked at where first we're asking what tool you're using, and then we're asking, okay, just probe for some use cases. It already just like it in how we've built the tool and how we're like prompting the tool behind the scenes, it does know to mirror back the responses and to use what the participant said previously. So you don't have to insert that as a variable or anything. That I think we do try to do to make this tool very user friendly is we do have a lot of different settings for like how the interview works. So you can basically set up the interviewer to have a conversation however you want it. So if you are sending this to your own users as a survey, you probably don't want to force them to respond with voice every time. So you can configure text and voice mode or text only mode. But if you are like incentivizing people a lot, or you're sending this to a panel and you want to have a higher quality conversation, we have different types of voice modes where it does feel more like a conversation and can get longer answers. And in the same vein, like when it comes to screen sharing and things like that, like you can require device type. You can choose how you want people to share their screens, whether it's like a full screen or browser tab. So this gives you a lot of flexibility in the types of tests that you can run and how intrusive you want it to be. Because we definitely believe that like the survey is an extension of your brand often when you're sending it to your own customers, and we want to give you flexibility.
I also noticed you had some visual configuration in that vein of it being an extension of my brand. I could use my brand's colors, I could use my logo or something like that.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
nice as
exactly.
well. Someone wants to know, will the AI moderator know if the participant has already answered a question in a previous question?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and it's something that we were thinking about. It does not currently, like, we don't have any logic that says like, okay, don't ask this question because it's already been covered, because we're erring on the side of making sure that everything gets answered. But it's a really great idea, and it's something that we're thinking about. And I think like the way we want to think about this is sort of like related to the question on AI question logic, where I think we want to make it smart enough where it can make better decisions between each question on what to do next. And then we're also thinking about whether we want to introduce additional like interview modes that are a little bit more free form and purely conversational, where the interviewer has a little bit more free reign around like where to jump in the interview, and it's less based on like the list of questions and more on objectives and a question pool. Yeah, definitely top of mind for us. And
Okay. I love that you're thinking about, different, ways to solve these sorts of problems and model different types of interviewing styles.
so when it comes to launching, relatively simple. Uh, One, you can share a link, and you can share this link and you can pass unique identifiers or hidden fields into the link. And one thing actually with unique identifiers is that this also allows users to save sessions. So if they start on their phone, they can continue on their computer, and they don't actually lose their progress. And then this also plays well with panels. So if you have your own panels, you want to hook it up to that panel, you should be able to do that with these identifiers, and we can also pass variables into the interview through the completion link. So a lot of flexibility there. We also have partnerships with several panels, so we have access to millions of B2C and B2B participants. So you can build a screener and filter panel criteria, and then you can recruit directly from our tool. And then the last thing you can do is you can embed our tool on your website. This is relatively simple for now. You can embed this and basically build it around whatever logic you want, and it will work well with all browsers and device types. But this is also something we're going to be investing in.
And with that, what does it look like as results roll in?
Yeah, so there's two views to this. The first is what I call like the raw data view. And this basically gives you every single response as a transcript. And with each transcript, this is shareable. You can grab a link and you can send it to people on your team. It also comes with a quick summary, so you can scan to see what is this interview about. And then you have the entire interview that you can read through. You can play back any audio recordings or screen recordings that it grabbed along the way. So it's fairly rich, and you'll see that it's a little bit longer than what you would get from like a typical survey, and more conversational.
Mm-hmm.
You can also export all of these. So I won't open the PDF, or the CSV, but you can export all the data as a structured CSV where everything is broken down by question, and you can then plug this into Excel, a statistical tool, to do additional analysis. And then you can also translate any of these. So if you've collected results across multiple languages, you can translate them all into one language, and then each study will have different, you can view it in whatever language you want. So that's the raw data view. And then what's probably more exciting is the reporting and insights view. So in addition to giving you all the data to do your own analysis, we also pull together a report. And this report has an executive summary with some key takeaways across the study. And then for every single question, you'll see, for closed-ended questions, you'll see a chart, you'll be able to see a table, and you can see the distribution of the answers. And when it comes to the AI question, what we do is we essentially go through and we generate the recurring themes. We go and we grab quotes, and then we summarize the answer for you and present it here. So here on like, how are people using AI in their personal life? I can see writing is the big one. I can see what is this all about? Like what are some of the specific quotes? And I can see every single time it was mentioned. And I can see like all of these different themes here. And the other thing you can do here with these reports is you can share them. So you can grab a link, get a shareable version of the report, and you can also filter them. So if I want to filter this report and say, I only want to see people who use tools, AI tools weekly, and I want to see how those insights differ, I can save that filter. It'll regenerate the insights for the study. And then if we go back to that question here, it's only including weekly results, but then we're also doing this for the qualitative analysis as well. So you can see here, we have fewer answers and we have some different themes, like coding support has bubbled up as a more frequent theme for people who are using it weekly. So that's how the reports work. And then the last thing I'll call out here is we also have an AI chat. So if I want to ask more specific questions, I can use this sort of as a research assistant, where I can say, like, give me a few examples of weird use cases. Yeah, so here it's giving me a bunch of them, and I can ask for quotes too. So it's like a conversation that remembers like what I'm saying. So I can say like, can you give me a quote for the cat one? And it has access to all of the responses in the study. It will give you the actual quotes. It's answering everything based on the actual data in the study.
Now I see those little numbers at the end. Is that the participant ID?
Yeah, so that's a citation. So if I click that, it'll take me to the actual results in a new tab, to the actual transcript.
So what if I disagree with something in here?
Yeah. So there's like a today answer and there's a coming soon answer. So today answer is everything is exportable. So you can export this report, and we support both Markdown and DocX exports. So you can basically bring it into whatever word editor you want, and then you can edit everything. Like since you have all the sources, you can remove sources, you can change themes, and you can basically create your own report. We sort of see this as like a really good first draft that you can share for an early read, or like a starting point for you to actually build your own report that you can draw from to see if there's anything that you've missed. So you can export it, edit the report wherever you want. But we are starting to work on adding editing features into our report tool. So in the near future, you'll be able to also like go and manually delete tags, add additional tags, change the names of tags, change the descriptions, and all of that. And we also do have a custom reporting tool coming soon, where you'll be able to create basically like, rather than like creating a report that's grouped by question, you'll be able to create a custom report that is grouped on like whatever you want. So you can say, I want a section on personal life, and I just want a summary for AI in personal life. I want a summary on like generative image tools. I want a section on LLMs, and it can sort of like pull together more of a custom report. So that's the other thing that we're doing to give you a little bit more control over how these reports work.
How this is different than the kind of reporting that I would get from something I would upload.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Yeah, the other thing that we can do is let me zoom in a little bit. So we allow you to create a study of what we call an external study, where you can upload your own interview recordings or transcripts. And what this will do is it will help you summarize each of those calls. And then it will also allow you to create reports across all of those calls. So here, if we have a study called AI and user research, we can basically set a purpose, customize the look and feel a little bit. And then we can say for each interview that I upload, what do I want the summary to look like? So here I have a participant profile. I have some takeaways, but they're specific to AI tools. And then I have two sections on AI related insights and product recommendations. So I can customize in like a repeatable way how all of these summaries will be generated. And then I
Okay.
can go in and I can actually upload transcripts. So this is actually the structure of the summary. So um,
How I
all,
want them to
yeah,
summarize the transcript.
yes. So you can like, usually this will be aligned with like your general interview outline and the sections you have, but it allows you to customize this a little bit so that it's not just like giving you, here's like some generic top 10 insights. You can then, you can structure them around the things that you care about.
And I'm noticing it's like up to 6 bullet points. And like,
Yeah.
up to six of this takeaway, or like, you're kind of crafting, you're kind of
Yeah.
giving it an idea of how much as well as what kind of information.
And then, yeah, the way this works is you can then go and you can upload transcripts. So pull one up. You can basically upload both video and audio files, and then VTT and text transcripts. And for each of these transcripts, you'll get like a transcript that you can read. You can highlight things and create clips. So I can like play this clip of David. So you can read the transcript, you can save clips, but then you also get an AI generated summary. So for every single transcript, you have the summary, and you'll see this is like aligned with our with how we customized it. So there's a participant profile, we have an executive summary with the key takeaways, and then we're also generating insights and quotes. So you can upload an interview, get a summary in the format that you want, and then you can, if you're in the field, this is something that's really easy to just share out. If you want to say, okay, just had this interview, here's some interesting things about it. Full report is coming soon, but here's like an initial summary. You can also create aggregate reports. So let me open it here. So you can create as many reports here as you want. And the way these work are, they essentially look across all of the different interviews in the study, and you can create the same types of sections. So I can create different sections for what I care about, and it will generate a report for me that's shareable across all of the conversations. So here has summarized all the participants. I think it's summarized not every single conversation, but every single person in every single conversation. So here's like a list of all the participants. And then here you'll see that we also are pulling out the insights. So you can see for these different insights, like how often did they occur? And it will grab quotes from every single transcript related to the insights, similar to how we're doing it for the conversational studies. So this is a great way to see like across all of the interviews, what are the takeaways, and generate a report on that.
It would save so much time in the preliminary reporting where I could then spend time exploring what's important to my stakeholders and crafting the narrative instead of slogging through all of the underlying details. Now, if I wanted to get,
Yep.
vet something, walk me through that process. How do I spot check it?
Yeah. So right now for these insights, so they include quotes. So I can click on these quotes and to the actual transcript and where the quote is. Yeah. So you can see the context. You can play back the actual clip by like clicking on into it and hitting play. So you can, yeah, audit them because every single thing is tied back to a quote and to a conversation. So anything that's generated by AI needs to have a citation. It needs to tie back to the source data, and it needs to sort of be done like the way that you're doing it as researchers.
If I have transcripts that aren't in English,
Yes.
can it handle those and give me the summaries in English?
Yes, it can. It and we have done that before. So it will default to giving you the summaries in English, but it will pull the quotes out in the original language, and you can go back and read the quotes in the original language, and you can have a study that has multiple languages. And what you'll just see is like in these quotes, you might have like a Spanish quote in addition to the English ones, but it understands what the quote means. It understands what theme it should fall into, and it does incorporate that into the analysis as well. So yeah, I think that's one of the really powerful things about LLMs today is that they do make it possible to understand things and pull out qualitative insights, not just across one language, but across multiple languages. And the way you can sort of do the like filtered reports is you can add tags to each of these interviews. So you can, yeah. So this is like a tag, not like a tag in like a transcript, but like a tag as in this interview is a market researcher, and it's covers enterprise and agency. So then I can go when I'm creating these reports, I can filter any of these questions to say like, I only want themes from user researchers or like market researchers.
That's great. So I don't even have to generate multiple reports for that. I could, but I also could just have one report that segments by those tags.
This is going to be something that we're going to be investing a lot more in. So you'll see a lot more here. We're going to make it easier for you to like provide like have like a Zoom recording bot that actually like automatically sends the data into these reports for you. Like we want to make it easier to collect. And then we also want to make it easier to analyze. So later in the year, we're going to be working on a lot of features around helping you generate insights across multiple studies so that you can start to use our tool as more of a repository where you can ask questions across everything you've done, because that ultimately is something that we want to be able to do, allow you to collect all sorts of information, but then also analyze all sorts of that information in whatever cut or format that is most helpful to you.
Very ambitious. I love it. What format does it export in?
Yeah, so for all of our reports, we enable exporting in both Markdown and docx formats.
Okay.
But we're always taking requests based on like what customers are telling us. But
I'm noticing in your interviews here that it's very abstracted. So it's like hiding some PII. Is that something
yes,
that was hidden in the transcript itself? Or what's the process for
yeah,
protecting user identity?
yeah. So here it's hidden through the analysis. But we do have the ability for you to set up PII redacting. So if that's important for you, we can redact at the point where you upload the transcript. It's not something that we automatically turn on by default.
And then if I upload the transcripts with some PII and, can I then specify that in the summary, I want it to be
Mm.
hidden?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Like we have here, here, like I'm
Yes.
just asking it not to include name or where they live, but there's additional things that you can redact whatever you
Perfect.
want through the prompt.
I noticed you had the regenerate on the reports. One thing that is a perpetual nit for a lot of researchers is replicability. Like, what's the level of variance in like, the temperature, the creativity of the analysis? How replicable would the analysis be if I reran the report?
Yeah, I'd say we are sort of like in the middle of like giving it more creativity and being more conservative. I think we found that if we turn it all the way down, then it doesn't generate insights that are as good. But then if we turn it all the way up, it's a little bit inconsistent. So I'd say we're in the middle. Like I think that like thematically, you'll generally get the same answers if you regenerate, but there might be like a few insights on the tail end that are like different, and the framing is different. But I think that's a good question. And it's something that we're also going to be like making it so that there's histories of things so you can go back, allowing you to save the history and then allowing you to edit. Yeah, sounds great.
Talk to us a little bit about the way your product is keeping our user data safe and secure.
Yeah, so we do all of like the standard things around encryption and access controls. We're also GDPR compliant, and we're in the process of becoming SOC 2 compliant. Also really important to us, neither we nor any of our providers train any models on user data, especially when it comes to user interviews. We think that this is like very sensitive and personal data. We shouldn't be training on it. And then the other thing is that we can also offer custom data retention policies. We can complete security audits, and we've completed security and legal audits with enterprise clients already. So we're definitely okay jumping through the hoops, and we've successfully done that. And then we also do offer like things like two-factor authentication and some standard like enterprise features to not just like have us keep it secure, but also make it so your team can keep things secure.
Great. Perfect. That's a lot of different elements that you're handling. So thank you for addressing all of those. Wonderful. And you've mentioned a lot of things that may be coming. You've got a really solid product, but you're also thinking about where to grow it and where to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If folks are interested in trying Versive for themselves, what should they do?
Yeah. So you can either request a demo on our website and we'll respond to you very quickly. Or you can reach out to me directly at eric@getversive.com. I'm happy to personally give you a demo and onboard you onto Versive.
And then also getversive.com is the website. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.